Okay, the last step. So here are our pieces. This was the skin that's going to go on top of our rib system. So the last step that I want to show you is how to take this set of ribs and give it thickness and then notch out the thickness so that you can laser cut it. Okay? And I'm going to do it 2 times. And I'm going to use this one. Okay? So try to watch and follow along. I mean, follow along if you can. Okay, 2 things. First, I'm going to show you how to simply give these surfaces thickness. I think Barbara was asking questions about that a few weeks ago. I don't really recommend you do that unless you're trying to like render something with thickness, because it's not as precise, and I'll show you why. So watch, we're going to take this and explode it and ungroup it. Okay, so now all of these things are individual planar surfaces that are notched out. Okay, so I can take this and I can take this surface. Let's start with the one on the end. And I can say extrude curve, but let's say extrude surface. Oh, I did extract, sorry. Extrude surface. You see it up there? Alright, select surface to extrude, this one. So see, I can give it thickness now. And I know that this, like if I were to build an Amazon packaging box to ship this, I know it's 12 inches by 6 inches on the outside. If I start extruding this towards the outside, it's going to get bigger, right? So I want to keep the boundary box the same. So I'm going to extrude it in, and let's say we're building this out of an 1/8 inch thick sheet of plywood. So now I've got this solid surface with thickness. That looks great, right? Now let's do it for this one. Let's extrude. Extrude surface. It did extracted. I'm sorry. Type extrude. Here's the command, extrude surface, and then it is also here under your solids tools.
All of those are extrude?
No, but they're solid, so that's to make a box, a cylinder. Oh, okay. So if you hold down the box, you'll see all of these have like a little pop-out window, so it's down here. That extrudes a curve, this extrudes a surface. Just in case you're having problems typing in the morning like me. Okay, so click enter. So again, I like to drag it in the direction I want to go and type 1/8 of an inch. Okay, see this is the problem. Right? We're not going to be able to overlap the surfaces if we do that. So I'm just doing this to illustrate the point, the problem we have, and I'm going to show you how to solve this today without actually extruding the surfaces, but you can do it to verify that it's going to fit together. So let's extrude all of these real quick. Extrude surface. See this one, what side do I want to go to? What's your name? What is it? HR? 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 Which side should we go? We should go to both sides because we want to keep the center line. So on the edges we want to come in, and then in the middle we don't want to lose our alignment. Later we're going to be like, wait, which side did I extrude this? And this. So stick to the center. Like when you draw elevations of things and when they're building stud walls, you've all seen like a stud frame wall. How do they space them? There's a very common term. It's called 16 inches on center. So they measure from the center to the center. Because if they start going from the edge to the edge, then the worker in the field is like, wait, which edge am I doing? And quickly they start to like have all these problems. So generally intermediate ones want to go in the center. So how do I go to the center? I come up here and click the both. Yeah. So you can turn both sides off or on. I'm going to turn it on. Now, HRA, how far do I want to go? What is it? No, because I want 1/8 of an inch thick. But if I do 1/8 of an inch, yeah, we got to go half because it's going to do half on both sides. So 1/16 of an inch. See that? Okay, so we'll do the same thing over here. And you can just click the surface. You can either right-click your mouse or hit enter and enter, and it'll repeat the previous command with the same settings. Right, and then I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to do extrude surface. Again, I don't want to do both on the end, so I'll click no, and I'll draw it in, and now I'll do 1/8 of an inch. Oop, went the wrong way. Yeah. Come on. So I can either redo that or I can move it. Oh, this one I did to the outside. What is going on? All right, this way. 1/8. Why? Let's try this. Let's try -1/8. That works. Okay. So look, that is, you know, if you were going to render this and assign materiality to it, it looks weird when you have wood that has 0 thickness. It just doesn't look right. So in general, I think we'll do a rendering demo later in this class. You want to give appropriate thicknesses to things. That's why we build models. Drawings tend to be very thin. Models have actual thickness and materiality. So this is what it's going to look like. But you see the problem. Like, how do I, you know, get all of these things to fit together? Because now if I unroll all these things and cut them, and I don't intersect them first, this thing is going to be out here. And this thing is going to be out here. And then, because these things are pushing them out, and then guess what will happen? The surface won't fit on it correctly. Right? Those need to be in the right position. Okay? So I just wanted to illustrate that point quickly. And now I'm going to show you how to deal with it. And I'm going to keep those extruded surfaces and get rid of the red surfaces, which you don't have to do, but okay. Let's make these like green or something. All right, so here we are, this and this. You guys know I bought my first digital camera in 2001, and I paid like $600 for it. And I think the resolution of, it was like a high-end digital camera. And like the images, you know, they were proud of the resolution. The file size of like the JPEGs were like 100 kilobytes, like very small. I forget like how many pixels they were. But now digital cameras have settings where you often want to choose lower resolution images because you just don't need so much information sometimes. Like now I have a camera that costs like $1,000, and I'll take a photo and it's like 60 megabytes. And then it's really slow. You can't even email a 60 megabyte image to somebody, so I'll set it. The point being that this looks correct, and that's ultimately what it's going to look like, but it's too much information. Like, we don't need that much information, and this is a more precise drawing of what we're trying to do. So this is going to be more simple to deal with, because if I take every one of these planes and do this with it, then suddenly I need to start dealing with 6 planes per plane, right? Because now there's 2 ends, 2 faces, a top and a bottom. So I'd rather just deal with it here. So when you're modeling, Try not to overcomplicate your life. Like, don't give thicknesses maybe until the end, and just try to, be precise. Also, like, what do I snap to here? I have, like, now, watch, if I draw a polyline, do I go here, 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 here? There's just now all these conflicts. And I'd rather just be able to snap to one point at the corner. Everything lines up. I know that. So the point being, we're going to deal with this. So let's copy and paste this to the right now. And I'm going to show you how to intersect this, notch it out for the thickness of material. Okay, let's start with this one and this one. So I'm going to turn these a different color. Okay, we're going to do this for all of them. But I first want to show you these two. All right, let's do this one. Turn this one back red. Okay, and I would recommend, remember when we were unrolling, we were turning on labels, so we knew which was which. I would recommend that you open your text tool. Where is it? Where do you see the big T? To the left?
Yeah, below.
Ah, there. Yeah, there. All right. So I'm going to number these 1. Have you used the text tool in Rhino, by the way? All right. So, I like starting slow, so all these little things you can try incrementally. So I can make it bold, I can make it italic, I can choose a font, just like in Microsoft Word. This is really what's important. So here we're doing curves. Look, I can do solids. And look, it makes a numbered object. I don't necessarily want that, but I'll show you some cases where you may want that. Here, usually it defaults to surfaces. All right, so it gives you a planar surface. So I could go laser cut the numbers. But curves, right, so it's a nice curve. So, but say I want to put numbers actually on the pieces and engrave the numbers. What's going to happen if I laser cut this? It's going to fall out. It's going to be a hole in the shape of the number. So another thing I can do, allow single stroke fonts. And now you'll see that. It'll like leave a face incomplete. Does everybody see this? Valerie, do you see this? Yeah. So now it's going to cut it, but not completely out, so it won't fall out. And so that's a pretty good setting to use. So I'm going to number these things. Let's go A. No, let's do 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 5. Probably want to move these. Move them in line with the ribs we're working on. Close enough, okay? And then we'll do the other side, A, B, C, and D. A, B, all right, everybody got that? And I'm going to move them to the bottom. Select them and drop them down. Okay? Perfect. All right, so we're going to do number 2. We're going to do this rib number 2. And I've got it intersecting these three other ribs. So I want to notch out for it. So the first thing I'm going to do is select it and type intersect. And it'll say select objects intersect. I'm going to take this one, this one, this one, and this one, and intersect them. And if you look, see the yellow line? It's a little hard to see, but it's highlighting a yellow line here. So I'm going to leave those selected and then copy this and then, select the rib itself and pull it out here. And really, I should take the number with it, so I remember which one I'm working on. Okay? So here's number 2. So you don't see the line, it's there, it's because it's on the edge. But let me show you how to deal with this. So what I want to do is lay this whole thing down. So I'm going to type rotate 3D. All right, so I know, remember again, and this is why it's also useful to have these rules. On the edge, I'm going to offset this in 1/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to take this other one on the edge and offset it in 1/8 of an inch. And then the center one, remind me your name one more time. Ichara. How do you spell it? Inchara. Oh, great. So I'm going to offset this one 1/16 of an inch on both sides, right? So I'll do it once over here and then once over here. Great. And then I can actually like delete the middle one. Okay. I'm going to bring it back. All right. So what I'm going to do for all these cross ribs, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm going to draw to the midpoint of the original line. So I'm going to make sure my snaps are turned on to mid, and I'm going to connect across from the midpoint. Okay? So again, where's our midpoint? Oh, it's high over here. This is just so I don't have to make many decisions. Like I'm just going to snap to the midpoint. All right? Now, I'm going to copy and paste this just to keep a history. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to notch everything out from the bottom part of this rib. Okay? So let's try to do that. So how can I trim out this area?
Why just that area?
I'll show you 1 second. In the other part, I'm going to trim out this area so that they go like this. So see, one is from the top, one's from the bottom, and then I can just slide them together like that. Okay? You'll see 1 second. Follow along. So how can I trim this out? We can try trim. We can select these as our cutting objects and trim that. Select this, this, and this. Okay? And we're basically good. Now, I don't really need those other lines anymore. So what I'll do, I'm going to move this one over. I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to delete all these lines. All I need, well, we'll keep this, but really all I need is to duplicate the border. Really all I need is this. Like that's what I'm going to cut, right? But I'll keep the surface just so I can show you. I'm going to extrude this surface 1/8 of an inch just so we can verify that it worked. Okay, so now let's do B. We'll start with B. All right, so I need to intersect B. I'm going to type intersect. Select objects to intersect. I'm going to select B, and then I'm going to select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and click enter. Where's Jonathan? He's home using Slicer right now. Okay, here's B. And if I wanted to stay precise, when I copy B, this one is not that complicated, but I'll take these numbers with it so I remember which intersection is which. Again, you can probably get by just, looking back and forth, but let's try this real quick. Okay, so I'm going to rotate this. Alright, now I'm going to offset these lines. I'm going to offset them in 1/8 of an inch. These I'm going to do a 1/16 of an inch on both sides. Okay. Now I'm going to go to each one and I'm going to draw across at the midpoint. And be sure that you're being consistent about this, because if you don't notch equally on both sides, they're not going to fully overlap, and you're going to have to use a knife later to trim out more material. Okay, so now I've done this. I'm going to copy it up. And now I'm just going to go, I'm going to trim, in this case, everything on the top. Okay, so let's try this. And I think I'm going to have an issue here. It's not going to let me trim because this line doesn't reach the top, right? So we're going to want to use a command called extend. Select boundary objects or extension length. I'm just going to press enter and then it will ask me to select a curve. And I'm just going to come click these and make sure they go over the edge so I can slice all the way through my cake. I need like a long enough knife. Here we go. Enter. Okay, I should be able to trim now. So now I'm going to trim. I have given this as a quiz in the past. Like I've uploaded a rib structure like this and said notch them out and unfold them and number them and then turn them in and go home. Okay, so let me show you how this works. I'm going to hide this just so I can quickly delete all these lines and then I'm going to unhide it. Okay, so I've got rib 2 and rib B. I'm going to extrude surface 1/8 of an inch. All right, so I'm going to 3D rotate this and stand it up. And I'm going to take this, 3D rotate it and stand it up. All right, so we want to go place this over here. Let's move it. I want to select the midpoint here, right? And now I want to take this one, move it over there. Uh-oh. I did something wrong.
I think it's a blue one.
Sorry, yeah. Okay, does everybody see this? So see, this one is notched out, so this can slip through it. And that one. Will fit. You can make puzzles for your little brothers to do. Alright, so these will all work. Let's do one more. Let's do this one on the edge, just to show how this will plug in on the edge. So then you've got your middle, your in-between, and your edge, and we've covered all three conditions. So we should, so again, and I wouldn't leave these here. I would maybe assemble a separate one with solids over there just to verify that it all fits together. So I'm going to turn the thicker ones off. But let's do rib C, and then we'll be done for today since you guys are tired. Okay, so let's intersect this. All right, and then I'm going to select this. All right, so this is rib C. And if you've got a ton of parts, I mean, do this exercise. That's why I only did 3 by 5. It's enough that it's going to take you an hour to go through here and model them. But it's time well spent. You're getting familiar with how to, you know, still do basic modeling techniques. And you'll be surprised. You could quickly kind of intersect and unroll things in the future. And then in like a month, I'll show you how to use the slicer tool to do more intricate projects like this. And then you can really start to automate it and do more complex things. But I like the idea of just being able to, you know, model a little detail. Even I use details like this for cabinetry. It's called a lap joint, where you overlap one with the other, and a notch and a mortise and tenon. So let's, am I on ghosted yet? All right, so let's do this last one, stand it back up, and then we can call it a day. All right, so we're going to offset each one of these 1/16 of an inch. These will do 1/8. Type D for distance and 1/8. So the new commands that we used today were extend. Were there any others? What is it? Offset. We've done. Have we done offset? Oh, offset surface or extrude surface. We did that one. All right. So again, Barbara, what side? So we're going to remove everything from the sides, right, or from the top. So just like with B, we're going to trim out of the top. Yeah, because remember, from the cross members, we did the bottom. So we'll just be consistent. So if it's a letter, we'll trim out of the top. If it's a number, we'll trim from the bottom. If you have to constantly go back and look, you'll forget, even if you're looking at it. And you'll laser cut 2 pieces that are both cut out of the top, and then they don't fit together, okay? So that's why I really recommend doing this and being deliberate about it. And writing some rules, kind of like your rule-based drawings we did for this class. So again, so let's come over here and just connect midpoint to midpoint. Realistically, this piece is just a rectangle because it's one of the ends. So we could just draw a line all the way across, but let's just try this. Now we're going to trim it. Oh, we blew it. Extra credit for Barbara. Almost done. Here we go. Trim. There is another way to do this manually that I'll show you later, but for now, just do it this way. So there's just a single process. It's very precise. Go through it. So we're going to copy this, and this I'm going to hide. Delete all these curves. unhide. Okay, I'm going to make this one green also. And I'm going to copy and extrude the surface. All right, extrude surface. 1/8 of an inch. So again, it's important you know how thick the material is, because you really only want to offset the thickness. If you offset it too much, it's going to be a loose connection, and if you offset it too little, you're really going to have to push and mess it up to get it in there. A little friction is good. It'll basically hold itself together. By the way, we're going to do an exercise like this in a few weeks where we use these exact same techniques, but instead of laser cutting them, we're going to go use the CNC milling machine to cut them on a plywood and fit them together. So you want to go measure precisely how thick is the plywood. Because if you're a little too tight with the plywood, you have to go in there with sandpaper, and it takes forever, each one of these joints. And you, again, it's a little bit of a myth, but they always say, digital fabrication takes the construction out of architecture. I find the opposite is maybe true. Like, you spend a lot of time doing these things, which ideally should fit together, and then you go to assemble it, and you end up spending like weeks sanding small little connections and things like that. All right, so see, that is going to go there. So see how this is going to notch through. So let's go see if it fits. Just going to put a frame over there so I know where to put this. Isn't that nice? It works. And you may, again, you may just want to model it, notch it out, tip it up, make sure it all fits together in the computer before you go to the effort to laser cut it. Make sure all those things, so you'll notice if you notched out the wrong side. And it's not that much work to just stand it up and extrude them quickly. Soon you'll just be able to do this. You'll just go to this process and you'll just start drawing things like, you'll just dupe border. You'll just start drawing curves like this quickly. And you'll be confident enough that you don't really need to go like verify all these things. And these are the curves. These are the things that you're going to laser cut. Yeah? So you're going to go laser cut that out of an 1/8 inch. And then again, you may want to try doing this. Putting the numbers next to the notches, so when you laser cut this, you know which number. So you know this is B, and then you know that each one of these are numbered, and if this is 1, it goes right there. If this is 2, it goes right there. It's a real connect the dots. It's like a piece of IKEA furniture. Amaya, what do you think? Are you listening to like a podcast or something? All right, great. Does everybody feel they can do that? This is a new approach to the class. I used to give this entire assignment on one day and say, go do it for next week. I broke it into like 3 smaller lectures. But I think each one of these is important enough of a step that it's worth like taking the time to demo them. So I'm going to pause.